Hey fellow travelers. So before I dissect my pack, a little background. There are three reasons that I'm doing this video, and the first of them is that I discovered all of these really terrific post-hike gear review videos for Appalachian Trail hikers. And if you haven't seen any of those, I would recommend looking at a contemporary video before you look at this, just for some context. And some real standouts, and these are all people that completed the trail last year in 2016. Certainly Bigfoot and Ryan Johnson, Alpenglow, and Mitch Lennington all have really good post-hike gear reviews. It really is extraordinary the number of videos that there are on the Appalachian Trail out there, including people who are hiking the trail at the moment and posting their videos a day or so hence. It's really remarkable. The second reason that I'm doing this is really a practical one. I've lived in my apartment for 30 years, and it was time finally to clean the closets. And I kept finding these relics, things that I couldn't throw away, that lived in a filing cabinet in the back of the closet for a long, long time. And they kept leading me back to the trail. So I thought I'd sort of put them together again. Which brings me to my third reason, and that is a little more arcane. Once you reach a certain station in life, there's this subtle but ineluctable need to reclaim bits and pieces of your past that have been obscured by time and life itself, and 50-hour work week and a lot of other things. But somehow these things come rushing back to you, and the trail certainly came back to me that way. And let this be a warning to you people who are doing the trail now. It's all going to come back one of these days, not just in your knees, but mentally. You'll want to reclaim it. You'll want to be there again. And I wanted to provide a little history, a little bit of context amidst all the contemporary videos. And I will refer to Ötzi, who is the Alpine, what do they call him, the Iceman, the Iceman of the Alps, the Chalcolithic European, who lived about 3300 BC. His body was found in 1991, way high up in the Alps. And I have to admit, when I'm watching these ultralight videos, I feel a lot more akin to Ötzi than I do to some of the people hiking now. And I should also give one disclaimer, and that is that I am not a thru hiker. I did the trail over 3 late springs and early summers, about 700 miles ago, and I was able to tweak my gear after each of these assaults, and that was a good thing. So this is the fruits of that tweaking. So I think that's about it. Let's go back to the grainy photographs and take apart the pack. We'll start with the big three. The first third of the trail I did wearing a Camp Trails pack, which weighed in at about 4 pounds, but it was much too small for me and much too small for everything I was carrying. Stuff just hung out all the time. So for the second 2/3 of the trail, I think I overcompensated. I bought the JanSport D2 pack, which is a colossus. It has a capacity of about 90 cubic liters, which was room for everything, and of course the problem is you fill it. Empty, the pack weighs about 7 pounds, and I suppose I could do a whole video just on the pack. It's in great shape. One other item to note in this photograph is the absence of trekking poles. Nobody had them. They hadn't really been invented yet, but I'd say a good portion of the hikers had some kind of staff that they used, a stick that they picked up along the way. My sleeping system was a 30-degree Dacron 2 polyester sleeping bag. It's heavy, it weighs about 6 pounds. I went against down because things are so damp so much of the time that I decided it would be better to have something that would keep me warm if it got wet. One reason it was liable to get wet is that for 2/3 of the trail I just carried a piece of visqueen heavy mill plastic. I could sleep on this sheet and sleep in the shelters fairly comfortably with it, but it meant that on a bivouac I would just have to roll up in it, and that was not very good protection against inclement weather. So for the third trip, I packed a JanSport Trail Dome. It was palatial, and it weighed about 7 pounds 6 ounces. But it was a lifesaver in Maine because I arrived in the midst of the black fly and mosquito season. So that means that in 1980, the combined weight of the pack, the sleeping bag and all, and my tent was 20 pounds 10 ounces. Next up, let's talk about what I wore. Starting with boots. I had a pair of Herman Survivors. A heavy pack means bigger boots, better support. And so I spent a lot of money on these. These were probably around $50. They were pretty well broken in when I left. I even packed some shoe grease with me. That got sent home pretty soon. And they did pretty well. They survived. They survived about 1,900 miles until I got to around Whitecap in Maine, when the welts totally disintegrated. So I had to tie the bottom of the shoe on with extra shoelaces, but that meant that this heel would slap against my heel. Yes, I do still have them. They've been hanging on a wall for the last 30-some years. So you can see what shape they're in, and that's the way I wore them for the last couple hundred miles of the trail. Not pretty. I should digress for a moment here and explain, before you all ask me why I would wear them when they were in that shape, that there really weren't the supply options that we have now, at least until you got to Vermont and New Hampshire, where there were good gear stores available. You have to remember that Walmart still had a hyphen in its name, and there was only one store in Tennessee that was east of the Mississippi. Think of the 70s as the age of cotton. I wore jeans, I wore a cotton sweatshirt, I wore cotton underwear, a cotton t-shirt, and this cotton flannel shirt that I wore 90% of the time, and of course my cut-off jean shorts. Just about the only synthetics you could find were those in shirts that you would wear to a disco on Saturday night. I did have wool socks, wool and nylon blend, and the problem with all of this stuff was that the only time it was ever dry was when I pulled it out of a dryer at a laundromat. I'd gone through a couple pairs of shorts, so about from Rutland, Vermont on, I hiked in lederhosen.
They were indestructible, but the pack stretched them out so much that at the end it was like hiking in a leather blob. For colder weather, I packed an acrylic sweater.
And a $9 down vest from a discount store.
If needed, I wore an extra pair of socks as mittens. And then it seems I never actually wore a hat, although I did have a lot more hair then. As far as rainwear goes, Ötzi had it all over me. He had this woven grass cape that resisted water somewhat anyway, and was at least breathable. I wore rubberized vinyl rain slicker and rain pants, which was like wearing a sauna suit, and they were really heavy too. In 1980, I made a note in my journal about someone that I'd talked to who was wearing something called Gore-Tex. It had just been patented. Now on to my food and water gear. Let's start with water. As you'll see, things were a little different then.
I carried 2 of these and 2 cups. Margarine came with this. It was free if you bought the margarine. Ugh. And this came out of my original cook kit.
What? No filter, you say? Well, no. I just drank right out of the springs. Everybody did. I did carry halazone tablets, but I only used them on 2 occasions on the entire Appalachian Trail. Would I recommend doing that now? No, absolutely not. But I'm still tempted occasionally to dip my cup in a beautiful little spring. And I suppose risk the consequences.
My stove was an Optimus 8R stove. What an amazing piece of equipment. I don't know how to describe this. It's the Sherman tank of camp stoves. You could actually simmer on this thing. It was just terrific. It comes with or you could buy a little pump to pump it up to get it going. And then I had to carry 22 ounces of fuel with me all the time. There weren't places that you could buy fuel. This isn't the original container.
The price you pay for that indestructibility is that it weighs 1 pound 8 ounces, and that's without fuel.
My cook kit consisted of what I'd glommed together from a bunch of different cook kits and things. This actually had a fry pan lid that attached to it. It's available, it being the 70s, it was available in Harvest Gold or Avocado. You see, I chose the Harvest Gold, and the paint lasted about a week, maybe. And just for comparison, I'm going to put this all on a scale. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Oops. Let's get that. Okay. Then I had this other small pot, which was really used for boiling ramen and cooking things. Of course, I needed a pot holder. I had a spatula. I had silverware, which, yes, I packed silverware. I'm not a spork fan, but this I stole from an airline. May Icelandic Airways forgive me. I had salt and pepper in film canisters. I had a good knife, spices, curry powder. The little pot had a lid too. And then I kept most of those things in this great bag with a tiny can opener. Yes, I opened cans. I put cans in my pack. So that weighs 1 pound, 1 3/4 ounces. My food I kept in a regular nylon stuff sack, not waterproof, of course. We didn't really hang bear bags. All of the shelters in the Smokies had chain link fence across the fronts of them to keep the bears out and the skunks in. I never actually saw a bear on the Appalachian Trail. I guess maybe they'd been hunted to near extinction back then. Miscellaneous stuff was pretty much the same. I carried tooth stuff and toothbrush and all, and a mirror and a comb. I carried some soap, a little first aid kit. That was important. For repair, I carried this little repair kit. Duct tape on the outside, spare parts for my pack, cotter pins, my sewing kit with its own little thimble. That was very important. I had to sew my pants together on a couple of occasions. Like everybody in those days, I carried a compass. You'll see me wearing it in some of the photographs. That's really just a conceit to convince my parents that I actually knew where I was going. I did carry a wallet with me. I didn't carry too much cash or change, but I used traveler's checks. I'd have them sent. I think I had 16 mail drops along the way, and I'd have a few sent to me at each post office. So it kept me honest and on a budget. I do think in 1980 I actually had a credit card, but there were no ATM machines, so cash wasn't that readily available. So that's pretty much it for the contents of the pack, except for my electronics. Okay, can I review my electronics? I had a flashlight, and that was great. I also had a little candle lantern. Candles were available most places. But as for communications, well, I had pens, I had postcards, letter writing tools, stamps, that sort of thing. Paper was always running short, so I'd occasionally have to make up, do my notes and things on leftover bits of paper. So for documenting my trip, in addition to my journals, I carried a Nikon single lens reflex camera. This is not the one I carried. It's a little bigger. It's been through hell too, of course, but let's see, just for comparison to an iPhone 6, this weighs a whopping 2 pounds, 10 3/8 ounces. And it's the source of the grainy photographs, which were actually taken as slides and then digitized, that you've been looking at through this video. So what really added up in the pack were things like my journal. I'd have books like this sent to me along the way so I could keep track of what I was seeing and what I was doing. Just for reference, keep the scale up. Then I at least had one guidebook at a time, guidebook and maps. Invaluable, inaccurate, but they were great. I think in 1978 or so, they came out with the AT data book. This was invaluable. I was able to actually keep track of where I was. That was good. I always carried some kind of guidebook or something where I could actually learn about what I was looking at. So this added to pack weight. I would sort of go through these one at a time, so I didn't have too many things in my pack. I also had a 3-volume set of immortal poems. Sometimes during the day I'd try to memorize a poem if the terrain wasn't all that interesting. And of course, at night, everyone needs to have a planisphere, so I had a planisphere with me. So what's that? 1 pound, 6 3/4 ounces. And that doesn't include the recorder that I brought and a little bit of sheet music. I never really learned to play the recorder, but I think it might have contributed to emptying out the shelters at night. I did sleep alone a great deal of the time.
So I think that's just about everything that was in my pack. But I have to say that even after my exhaustive research, I can't come up with a real base weight. Um, I do know that in Gorham, New Hampshire, right before I did Mount Washington, I weighed my pack, and this is also right after I got a couple of care packages from home. I weighed my pack at the general store there, and it weighed 64 pounds. So my advice to all of you is don't. Don't have a pack that weighs 64 pounds. You can hike the whole trail in it, but it just isn't comfortable, and you just don't need all that stuff. Ultralight, yeah. Worry about the pounds. Don't worry so much about the ounces. I know they add up, but be comfortable, but be spare.
So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Please like and comment. I will answer comments, and I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. And if all four of you would subscribe, that would really give me a great deal of self-confidence, and maybe I'd make even another video. Okay? Thank you.